All right, what's next on the list?
Agreeableness versus disagreeableness.
Okay, so with this one, it sounds like there's a clear right and wrong answer.
But there's not.
Oh, tell us how.
I hate that there's like this negative connotation to some of the wording within some of the most popular personality traits that are out there, because they shouldn't be that way. So, for example, agreeableness, disagreeableness is the extent to which you want harmony, right? On the agreeableness side, like you really are seeking harmony. You want people to get along. You want them to engage with each other in a way that everybody walks away happy, versus disagreeable, meaning your willingness to disagree with people and have that constructive conversation on whether or not you think there's other alternatives. And so
it doesn't mean like problem starter.
No, right.
Conflict instigator.
That's right. Well, what's interesting is that both of them actually can be bad.
Yeah.
Right? So disagreeableness, that can be bad if they're coming at the conversation with this sense of I'm right, everybody else is wrong, the problem starter, and they're just being obnoxious about it. But there is a really important construct in organizational behavior, this philosophy and this framework called constructive controversy, which is really about you're engaging in this sense of different ideas and different perspectives for the purpose of helping everybody, not because you just want to be the naysayer or the annoying devil's advocate because you want to hear yourself talk. You're engaging in that behavior because you want to help. So it's really hard to tease that out, but if the rationale behind it is genuine, then it's a good thing. But also agreeableness can be really bad in organizational settings.
Okay.
Harmony sounds nice, but if it's groupthink, just waiting to happen, right? So if everybody's agreeable and doesn't want anybody to necessarily feel slighted and their idea wasn't taken, the right way, then that's bad too. So at its face, we think agreeable is good, disagreeable is bad, but it actually depends upon what we're trying to do with it. It's going to determine whether or not it's productive or unproductive.
Okay, I have this makes me think of an interesting story. So I used to work at a marketing video production company, right? And so our job was to make a bunch of great videos for clients. And so clients always have feedback, right?
Yeah.
And
yes.
feedback when you're working in the creative world is tough. It's like, can you make it pop more? Well, what does that mean to you? Because I think it feels poppy already,
right.
Yeah. And then, the creative director and the illustrator and the animator disagree on what that means. And, there was this healthy disagreeableness that happened where we would, one, with the client and trying to have a good relationship there, but two, internally of I think we should do this with the feedback. I think we should do that with the feedback, right?
Right.
And it was this beautiful, great situation where we really respected the differences that people had. So in that sense, people had a healthy appreciation of disagreeableness and always shared their divergent opinions, right?
That's right.
But at the same time, everyone felt overworked and underpaid. And I was fine going to leadership and saying that.
Yeah.
And then one time my boss just asked everyone then and was like, hey guys, out of 0 to 100%, 100% is I'm max capacity. Where are you on capacity?
Yeah.
And a bunch of people answered 80%.
Whoa.
And I was like, y'all need to speak up for yourselves.
Yeah, why didn't you say this earlier? Yeah.
And I think it was an unhealthy level of agreeableness, right?
Yes,
and so
that's right.
That's an interesting example because obviously authority comes into play there and obviously job security and your thought process on all of that.
Sure.
But I saw some people who could be really healthy disagreeable in one situation, be really unhealthy agreeable in another situation and just flex on that spectrum.
Yeah. And I think usually you see a lot of the other where it's you get a group of relatively agreeable folks in a group, right? They're not afraid to speak up here and there, and they're not afraid to put their opinion out here and there. And then you have one person that's the outlier that just comes across as a disagreeable person. And that's just the way they think. It's the way they operate. A lot of times it's attached to that very logic-oriented mindset of, let's flesh out every single option before we move forward, and is always willing to kind of have that engineering mind and pick everything apart. That is so, so important. But how you present that information is almost even more important.
Okay, so if you're the disagreeable person, what is a productive way to present that information?
Yeah, I think it's really, for one, our tone matters, our nonverbals matter, the framing of, hey, I'm getting ready to bring up this point, and people might not agree, but I'm doing it for the betterment of the group. Like, you can preface whatever you're going to say with the mindset of, I'm just pushing on this a little bit to make sure there's no bias going on.
I've also seen it be really helpful when people preface with, I like this idea. Like, just a simple phrase of like, oh, you're headed in a good direction.
Yeah.
Let's also consider. Like,
That's
just
right.
a tiny, like, half-sentence compliment
Yeah.
to just let people know you're not
Yeah.
coming at it like, this
Right.
is all just terrible and needs to be thrown out the window,
That's right. Yeah, and that can go a long way. And just the tone that we say it can go a long way as well. I think people react to those types of things.
It's like it opens the brain to receive it.
That's
more.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so what if you're the agreeable person? How do you treat that disagreeable person to help them, like, help it be a productive situation?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I think, so let's just assume that the disagreeable person, maybe they're not going to change their delivery, or you don't have time to do it, and that's fine. I think you can be the agreeable person, or regardless of where you are on this continuum, to kind of engage in what would be called like sense making. Let's make sense of this comment, right? So this is a good idea, Kirsten, who brought up this very different and antithesis of the direction we're going idea. Let's give this some space and make sure that, we're incorporating this information to make sure that whatever the direction we're on is the right path. And being the one to kind of step up and say, this is a good idea, to consider their opinion and put your framing of, here's why, everyone, this is good. Because it brings them back from, I think, the emotional reaction. It puts them into the mindset of the logical reaction. Because a lot of times our initial, whether our mind recognizes it or not, we initially react emotionally to whatever was said and how it was said. But you got to like embed it or frame it and make sense of it in a way that's helpful for everybody.
What I love about things like this and about talking about this and helping people start to recognize, any of these spectrums that we talk about, or continuums that we talk about, is that everyone has power in their own hands to change it from reactive to proactive. Like, even if I am the calm, agreeable person in the room, and I see this disagreeable person start conflict, I'm not going to change them, but I can at least start to recognize, oh, this is agreeableness, disagreeableness. And so maybe this person is bringing up important points for us to consider.
Right.
I sense everyone's getting frustrated. I personally feel attacked.
Yes.
But I'm going to pause and say that's probably not what they intend. Like, if this person has good intentions, which most people do, like most people, like 99.99% of the world is not like, I'm just ready to make everyone else have a terrible day, right?
Yeah,
So
they don't wake up thinking that.
So if this person has good intentions, even if they're cluttered and buried under some frustration, what is productive here? And so what can I do to help change the tone in the room? Like, you can reframe what is starting to be a rising tension in the room.
Right. When you feel it, you need to step up and be the person on it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the manager or the leader. It could be anybody that's willing to step up. The other one, and when that person that's being disagreeable or engaging in it, let's say that they're doing it because they are just a spiteful human being. And that happens sometimes, hopefully not very much.
And usually that's because they're a hurt baby bird with their own issues. And
and you're not going to fix that
you're not.
in a session of a meeting.
You're not.
The best way to fix that is through humor. Research is illustrating that when you do have that person that is kind of infusing this negative tone, you can match it with the alternative, which is the extreme of the more lighthearted and positive with some sense of humor into the conversation, whatever that might be.
That's a superpower trick.
And it definitely can help diffuse the situation, or at least let everybody in the room recognize that this is a little intense as what's going on over here. Let's lighten it up a little bit, and it can change the course of the conversation.